And our political system right now is completely broken. Not completely broken. And I admit I could feel a lot better on election day than I do right now. Maybe you could say the political system is in good shape in a certain way, that it could bring forward a former president of the Harvard Law Review. But he better whoop the former mayor of Wasilla, or this thing is really, really in bad shape. If we can't bring forward competence and knowledge reliably, and with a public understanding that that's important for our survival, and we have no such understanding right now, we're in a very dangerous situation. And that's partly where your voices are really urgently needed right now. The rampant anti-intellectualism of our time, the grossness of these attacks on elitism and all of this bastardization of democratic politics is very dangerous for us. This is not a game, I repeat. This is real life, and I believe survival, actually. And so the political system doesn't do it. Now, what are some of the things that we'll need to solve these problems? I, of course, don't have any full list, but let me mention a few things that I think are important to add to the mix. First, we absolutely have to find ways to reinforce the role of science in society. And that's because of the fact that the nature of our problems, the interconnected challenges of the physical environment and human economic activity and survival, require a deep understanding of underlying physical mechanisms. We need to get science deeply embedded in our public policy processes in ways that it's not right now. Congress is scientifically ignorant. The White House, I won't even go there, but a travesty and a danger for the world. George Bush, in my mind, is the worst president in American history, because I don't have the visceral feeling for James Buchanan, by the way. But he may be the rival, but other than that, and a large part of it is how Bush stoked up precisely the anti-science that we need right now for survival. My favorite international institution in this regard is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, which won the Nobel Peace Prize with Al Gore last year. And the reason I like it so much is that it is a constructed model of how to create a public understanding about scientific consensus on a complex topic. That's not easy to do. There's lots of reasons why the general public has almost no sense of what real science is about. Of course, general public hears almost no science, is not trained to understand these issues, does not get Science magazine once a week to read. Those should, and I recommend it to all of you, because even the first half actually is quite wonderful for non-scientists, just to give you a general update about the world of science. And it's very important for you to have that, because that's what our world needs to understand right now. But more than that, there are obviously deliberately obfuscatory forces, the corporate world and the religious world and others that take shots at all of this. And so the public's utterly confused, even when the scientific community has a rich knowledge and understanding of very complex challenges. So the IPCC is a process that was designed to bring in a serious, methodical, some would say plotting, but still it works, methodical way, the scientific knowledge and consensus to the broad public. And it's having its effect on slowly, grudgingly dragging the world into a recognition about climate change risk. because it has a certain authority to it, the way that it has been carefully constructed to be open, transparent, honest, peer review based, to deliver that sense of consensus. We need that on many, many fronts. We don't have that kind of process right now. Congressional oversight doesn't work. The administration and the mechanisms of our departments are independent of science. And so we need to invent new ways to bridge the divide. Second, we face massive financing problems for global public goods and for addressing the needs of the poor. They're not massive relative to our wealth or our income. I've estimated that they require between 2 and 3% of the world's annual income to address the interconnected problems of extreme poverty, climate change, energy systems, water, food supply, biodiversity conservation. It's not a lot of money to actually consolidate the future and end extreme poverty and head off the risks of anthropogenic climate change and other massive challenges to our future well-being. Small, but it's vastly larger than what we actually put into any of these things right now. Our budget on energy research, just to give you an idea, has been running at about $3 billion a year. We went to war in Iraq because of oil and have spent about $1 trillion so far. It's just not smart, this imbalance between what we're investing in real solutions and what we're ready to invest in bombing and killing people for illusory solutions. But that's the kind of trade-off that we're making. We're spending almost $2 billion a day on the military in this country. And for whatever reason, both candidates are basically saying, yeah, we've got to do that, probably even more, which I think is a huge mistake. That means that the $3 billion we spend total on sustainable energy systems each year comes to 1.5 days of Pentagon spending. That can't be the right allocation for our security. It just can't be right. So I think we need new ways to finance these public goods. Some, of course, does have to go through our political process each year or congressional appropriations, but we also need global financing to address global challenges like climate change. And one of the things I want to work on much more in the future is an allocation of some fraction of a global carbon tax or selling carbon permits to mobilizing global financing for public goods. So we right now are emitting globally about 30 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year. Already, it's about 36 billion tons, of which 30 billion is from energy and about 6 billion is from deforestation. And the number's rising because of the growing world economy, of course. But if we devoted $10 per ton to addressing these problems, and that would be maybe 1 cent per kilowatt hour implication for electricity, then when you do the arithmetic, you see that would be global financing of another $300 billion a year, which actually would be enough to address some pretty basic questions of energy transformation, as well as poverty reduction. So creating a mechanism of global financing, I think, is an important part of solving the global public goods problems. Third is public education. Well, it, in a way, started in Massachusetts, and I kind of believe you're going to have to step up to this much more. And we're all going to have to step up to this. But we actually will not solve these problems with an American public that is as poorly informed as it is right now.